Blog Talk Radio.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, my co-host, Don Johnson, and if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. We have a great show today. We're meeting with John Martin of the Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas franchise opportunity. And for over 10 years, Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas has provided a unique combination of theater and restaurant. And that's coming up in segment 2 of Franchise Interviews. Stick around because we've got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com. Franchise Interviews. For over 2 years now, Franchise Interviews has been giving you an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys.
And our free franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise.
And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. Today's show is being brought to you by Franchise Times magazine. Franchise Times is the only publication that targets both franchisors and multi-unit franchisees, and is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. How you doing today, Don? Welcome back.
I'm doing fine, Marty. How about you?
Good, good. We made it through another summer. You know,
right.
It's nice. You actually could feel traces of fall here in Pennsylvania today, so it's really beautiful here.
Yeah, same here. A little Christmas in the air, and I enjoy the fall time, so it's been a good summer.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I know you had a milestone this morning that we were talking about a little before the show today. Your kids going to school, so
Yeah, historic day in the Johnson family. My twins starting kindergarten, so we were out at the bus stop and waiting for the bus, and my wife's taking pictures, and it was it was a pretty exciting day. The kids were all excited to go to their first day of school.
Absolutely. Our last show, Don, we met with CEO Fez Agbazian of Instant Tax Service Franchise Opportunity. And it's a great story on his whole background and how he started the company and how he ended up selling his first business to, I think it was Jackson Hewitt, actually, and just great. So any thoughts on when we spoke with Fez?
Yeah, you're right. Interesting background. I think he owned a bunch of tax centers and sold. And you're pretty impressed with the growth of Instant Tax Service. Well, they have about 1,200 locations, 34 plus states. And I mean, I know it's it's one of the fastest growing industries, meaning people utilizing a tax preparer to do their taxes instead of doing it themselves. And I mean, obviously, everyone needs the service. Taxes are always going to be with us, unfortunately.
Yes, that's for sure. And it is great. What I like, there's just several things I like about this particular franchise, Don. I mean, one, the tax laws are always changing, so I mean, it's hard to keep up to date on everything that's going on. What was it? Ben Franklin said, only one thing is certain: death and taxes. So as you said, it's the market is huge for this type of franchise. I like the lifestyle that it provides to their franchisees. In other words, yes, you're busy, I guess, like it's from January to like April or May, I mean, very, very busy, during that part of the year. But the other part of the year is pretty much you're on your own, you know what I mean? Fess was telling a story of one gentleman, I think his wife was sick or having a baby or something like that, and he was spending all this time in the hospital, and they said to him, don't you work? He said, yeah, I work. It just, fortunately, it happened to be during the off-season. The franchisee, so you can pretty much do anything you want during the second half of the year. So, very busy.
I think he gave out a stat, 61%, I guess, of the country went to a tax preparer. Right. And that's over 80 million people. And I think that, didn't he say this franchise has a buyback policy? I guess it's a guarantee. If after a certain amount of time, if the franchise is not working for you, you're not happy or something different, I guess they'll
buy it back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's we haven't seen that too often on the show, Right. So I mean, I think there might be several other cases that are doing something like that, but yeah, I mean, it really helps, and that helps them too, because if it's not a match, I mean, franchising is certainly a relationship. They don't want anyone working in their franchise system that's not happy doing it, I mean, otherwise it's not going to be successful. So I really think it's in their best interest to do something like that. Really, all franchisers. To do something like that, I mean, it's not always possible, but
I think it's a great, selling tool to give the franchisee, the investor, a comfort level and out, more or less.
Right.
And I know they're careful when they pre-screen their franchisee. I guess he said he was looking for a lot of hunger and motivation in a prospect.
Right, absolutely. There was a couple things. Entrepreneur Magazine ranked them the #1 new franchise in the country for the second year in a row.
In their category or overall?
Good question.
Yeah, it's probably the category.
Might be the category, yeah. Let's see, they were ranked among the National Minority Franchising Initiative top 50 franchises for minorities, and was recently included among the Franchise Times Fast 55. So I think that's the key with them too, is the growth, that's taking place.
Right. Within
this franchise, and strength in numbers. So good for them. I'd like to have him back, in the near future. I thought he was an excellent speaker. He did a great job, and
what's interesting about the show, Barney, we're going from that type of service to today having a franchise called Alamo Drafthouse Cinema.
Yeah, and I hate to use this word, but it's a cool concept, isn't it? I mean, looking over their website and I said, my God, it just makes so much sense. I mean, ever since we had the baby, Con and I rarely go out anymore. But, the several occasions that we do go out, we'll have our parents come up or my parents watch the baby. We'll go out to dinner and a movie. And typically what happens is we'll go to dinner, then we'll go to a movie, but then we have to wait for the movie. You know what I mean? So
or you're at the restaurant and, you're always nervous about being late for the movie. I kind of like their concept. It's all in one place. It's all, you don't have to, worry. about, there could be delays when you go to a restaurant, of course. It could be busy, it's slow, and then it's some stress. You're rushing to not be late for the movies. You might not have a ticket yet, and that's kind of interesting about this concept.
It is. It's a very cool concept, so I'm looking forward to having John on the show today. Some upcoming shows, Don, just so you know, so our listeners know. Thursday, September 10th. I think this one is new to our category. Express Oil Franchise Opportunity meets with franchise interviews. So that's next week. Express Oil is a recognized leader in the quick lube and automotive service industry and the largest independent quick lube chain in the Southeast. I don't think we've had this type of franchise on the show, have we? I mean, again,
No, we've had automotive, so we had that to the category, but not specifically that, so that's great.
We've done a lot of shows when even I can't remember if we've had a particular category, because I usually, at one time I used to be able to give them to you verbatim, starting with PB Loco all the way to present moment. I can't do that anymore. It's just too many shows, which is a good problem to have. Following week, Thursday, September 17th, Greg Haskett of Home Team Inspection Service franchise opportunity. I think we had a inspection franchise on the show before, but I think there was only one since we've been doing the show. So that should be interesting. Another great concept. Then the following week, September 24th, we're meeting with the Glass Guru. Are you familiar with those guys?
Heard of them, don't know much about them.
Okay, Dan Frey, of the CEO of Glass Guru Franchise Opportunity, cutting-edge window restoration technologies combined with a traditional glass shop services make the Glass Guru a one-of-a-kind franchise opportunity. So we have some interesting concepts coming up. And then in the beginning of October, I know you're going to be at the you're going to be on the West Coast show.
Right.
So we're going to have a senior care symposium. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had two symposiums. We had a franchise attorney symposium, which was a 3-hour show, and then we had a sub-symposium. And I tell you, I don't know if you listened to that show, Don. I listened to it. There was Cousin Subs, Lenny's, and Jersey Mike's, and I was starving that day. I listened to the show. I said, oh, my God. It was just torture. I was hungry all day. So.
Right. I remember specifically the Jersey Mike's one, the way he was explaining it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was painful to listen to those shows because it was starving.
Right.
So we got some exciting things happening, and we're slowly approaching our 150th show in November. 3 years of doing the show. Can you imagine? And we have some big name surprise guests that we're trying to line up for the show. So
for a November 3-year show, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. It's gone by so fast. So I know you had some interesting articles that you discovered the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, here's from the Bradenton Herald, Marty, by Grace Gagliano. How best to select a franchise. Choosing a franchise as your entrepreneurial endeavor can be an overwhelming process considering the thousands of business options available to investors. According to the IFA, there are more than 1,200 franchise brands nationwide. I think they made a mistake here. I think we know it's over 3,000. Everything from Subway to 1 Hour Air Conditioning and Heating. In 2008, there were 864,784 franchise establishments in the nation, an increase from 847 in 07.
Okay.
So that number keeps going up. Not too long ago, I remember it was
750,000. I think probably at this point we're almost at 1 million. I mean, again, it's so hard to keep track with with the growth of franchising, but it's pretty close, that number. Yeah.
And it goes on. Alyssa Harrison, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the IFA, gives some tips on the do's and don'ts when selecting a franchise. We always, love going over this type of stuff.
Right.
With the number of franchise options out there, how does one narrow the choices? It is important to purchase a franchise business that is in an area that you have an interest in. For example, if you're a pet lover, you might consider one of the many businesses that are involved in pet services. However, many people choose a franchise based on a service need in their area. If there is a growing demand in your area for a particular kind of restaurant or personal service, you might consider those options. What should research on a franchise include? A thorough plan for investigation should be made prior to signing a franchise agreement. Knowing the scope and size of the industry is particularly useful for those who are just beginning. The IFA offers opportunities for prospective investors to meet with company representatives at a variety of trade shows. It is important for those potential franchisees to get to know those who are part of their main support system. I've always been an advocate of doing plenty of due diligence and going and meeting people at the trade shows. And and knowing information about the franchise history and track record is always impressive because you're also trying to impress the franchisor or corporate office as well.
It's so much work. I mean, we're talking months and months, of prep before I think you make that decision on which one you're actually going to go with. Yeah.
Besides initial entry fees, what other costs do people need to consider? Many recommend that as you get close to signing a contract that you consult legal experts to review the contract or FDD and franchise agreement. So legal costs and costs associated with other franchise consultants should be considered. In addition, most franchisors want prospective franchisees to have several months of living expenses in the bank to get you through the startup phase. And investment ranges for franchises can be as low as $10,000 to more than $1 million. How much bargaining power is possible on a franchise contract? Franchise businesses are based on consistency, so the running of the operation will be very specific. There is no one-size-fits-all in franchise contracts, so prospects should raise potential negotiation points with the franchisor.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to know.
Right.
Are there some industries people should avoid for the sake of entering a market that is oversaturated or too thinly populated? It depends on the area where you want to open your business. Doing thorough market research is important. This is also something the franchisor can help with by providing market penetration data and what their rules are for the number of units opening up in a certain area. For a first-time business owner, how crucial is it to pick a franchise that offers guidance in startup and operations? One of the attributes of buying a franchise is that you buy into a known brand and systems that offer training and marketing support. It's important to know what level of support the franchisor provides to the franchisee, which should all be disclosed. It is in the franchisor's best interest to help the franchisee succeed, so there's normally a significant support during the startup and for the length of the contract. Always crucial, obviously, the training.
Yes,
what are the risks of investing in a franchise? There's no guarantees of success. Not every individual with entrepreneurial interest is best suited for this business format. Those hesitant to commit to the structure and restrictions of franchising might want to pursue other types of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
As with any business venture, there are risks, so it's important that you conduct thorough research before buying a business. The last question, Marty, what makes a franchise a good business endeavor? Buying into a franchise that has a proven track record of training support and with supporting franchisees is important to the success of the entire franchise company. Good practical advice. We've gone over a bunch on the show, and it's for new listeners, just in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's so important, Don, that we talk about these things, that because we do pick up new listeners every single week, to the show, and our mission of the show is to educate our listeners on franchising and just to remind them,
right?
Also, that.
And we're always getting these type of questions and emails sent to us.
Exactly, and one of the things, in addition to this article, I think that they needed to add also, and it might have mentioned, I just might have missed it, is franchising for you? I think that's really the first place to start, before even doing all of this due diligence, looking into the different opportunities. You have to ask yourself, do I have the ability to follow a system? And if I don't, then, and I think it did mention it, I should look towards maybe perhaps a business opportunity, or maybe I'm more entrepreneurial and I want to be the creator or the inventor.
Right.
So, interesting points.
It's important. That's why it's nice to speak to a franchise consultant. You learn about yourself that maybe you haven't thought about, certain questions and things.
Yeah.
What you've done in the past and what you're looking to do. They can help put the whole puzzle together of your makeup and background and what you're looking to do and what your short and long-term goals.
Yeah.
To make sure you're going into a right system, because it's going to be something you're going to be doing for at least 10 years.
I totally agree. One of the things, I don't know if you remember when we had Steve Biegelman on the show. But, when he was talking, he was mentioning that, once you decide if franchising is for you, you might want to ask yourself, too, do you want to go with a big system, like, let's say, like Yum Brands, or do you want to go with a smaller system? And there is a difference between each one, isn't there? I mean,
right.
In a franchise system like Yum Brands, you're probably not going to have much control or much, I don't want to say much say as the franchisee, where maybe some of the smaller systems, you only got like a handful of them.
Right.
You might have a little more power, to express your opinion from time to time, so that might be important to the franchisee as well, or the prospective franchisee.
Right, the big name, like you mentioned, the
KFC
and Taco Bell, part of Yum Brands, or going with a franchise, newer, doesn't have the brand name, but maybe there's more potential to help grow. Even though you're a franchisee, you can have a a part of the whole growth of the system, and then you might have more options with buying a larger territory, being an area developer since it's being new and developed. So it's always
there's different degrees of franchisees too. You know what I mean? There's some that will strictly follow the system, you know, and that's it. They're almost like a robot, you know. And there's others that might have that. I think franchisees still have an entrepreneurial spirit, you know, and I think sometimes they want their voice to be heard. And,
right.
You know, so just the kind of things to take into consideration. Absolutely. It was a good article.
Here's something, Marty. Restaurant chains are ready for some football. It's football season. It's also announce your company's NFL sponsorship status season. It's always a favorite time of the year for me. I'm a football fan.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something written by Mary Bolch Chapman, Chain Leader magazine. It's football season, and it's also announce your company's NFL sponsorship. Gold Star Chili has renewed its partnership with the Cincinnati Bengals to be the team's official chili for the next 5 years. Football fans at Paul Brown Stadium can have Gold Star Chili at home games and other events.
Wow.
Might make me want to switch to be a Bengals fan.
There you go.
A Krispy Kreme will sell donuts during Carolina Panther games for the next 3 seasons.
Wow.
Duffy's Sports Grill, a 20-unit restaurant chain based in Palm Beach Garden, Florida, has been named the official sports grill of the Miami Dolphins.
Wow. So it looks like this is a trend that's taking place.
Yeah.
Huh? With like, you know, the franchises and
Here's one of your favorite franchises. Atlanta-based Hooters held the National Hooters Fantasy Draft Weekend.
There you go.
At its 445 stores recently, customers received FoxSports.com draft party kits with guides and Hooters season tickets.
Wow.
Marketing goes both ways as plenty of current and former pro football stars promote restaurant chains. Since 2003, former Cowboys quarterback, current Fox broadcaster Troy Aikman has served as spokesman for Dallas-based chicken chain Wingstop, the official wings of the Dallas Cowboys.
We should get him on the show, huh?
We should. Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald Jr., just recently in the Super Bowl, has lent his name and image to Cold Stone Creamery to raise funds to fight breast cancer.
Wow.
San Diego Chargers running back Darren Sproles has been working with Submarina, Carolina subs, to promote health and wellness to children.
Wow.
And lastly, among the ranks of chain franchisees are plenty of football heroes such as Orlando Brown, who franchises Fatburger, and Raheem Brock, who operates a Wingstop, and Leonard Davis and Mark Colombo, who plan to have some smash burger units.
I mean, this is, you know, again, you go back to the advantages of franchising. Here you go. I mean, this is something that, I mean, if you were to do something like this on your own, let's say start your own wing franchise like Don's Wings, you know, I mean, you're not going to be able to set up these kind of deals, you know, with these sports guys and the NFL and things like that. You're just too small, you know. So you talk about brand name recognition and associating yourself with guys like, you know, Troy Aikman, who has a certain image. Yeah, I mean, it's all part of the franchise fee and ongoing loyalty that you're buying into a system where they're doing all the promoting and advertising and setting up these types of deals. And that's where you have to appreciate paying the royalties. You know what I mean? I know I'm under the assumption, I suspect, that sometimes franchisees paying those royalties might be painful to them sometimes, you know? Right. But, I mean, that's where the money's actually going, you know? So, yeah, very interesting. Good. Also here, Marty, through the Star Tribune, Elizabeth Flores, it says, after being laid off for a third time in 13 years, Don McPhee began a duck cleaning franchise with his 2 sons. He runs the business out of his home. He couldn't get recession-shy lenders to provide startup money, so he used his 401k funds. Pretty popular program for people to get the funding they need to open up a franchise, you know, whether it's a business line of credit, an SBA loan. Sometimes people will use their retirement money. There's companies that have a special program. And it goes on, Marty. Don McPhee had lost his job for the last time. In November 2007, after he'd been told to clean out his desk for the third time in 13 years, the former construction project manager went home and told his wife, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to do it for anybody else, he says. McPhee, like many newly unemployed, decided to go into business for himself and buy a franchise. The franchise sector usually fattens during recessions. Real estate's cheaper. There's a spike in laid-off workers from corporate America, and franchises are usually considered less risky than starting an independent business. Right. But because of the credit crunch, many in the industry are expecting this recession to be different. The IFA predicts a 1.2% decrease in the number of U.S. franchises in 2009. It's a small dip, but it's also the first year-over-year decline of more than a decade. You know,
obviously every industry is affected by this. We've given out that quote a few times. This really is a big marker for us, said Alyssa Harrison. We have to get her on the show. She's quoted all over the place, a spokeswoman for the IFA. We always see an uptick during a recession. The drop is multiplied in Minnesota, which had close to 2,000 franchises in fiscal 2009, down 8.6% from 1,300 in fiscal 2008, according to the Minnesota Department of Commerce. Also, there was a 22% decrease in franchise applications in 2009 compared to 2008. The reason, many banks hobbled by the credit crunch and under closer scrutiny from regulators no longer want to cough up loans for new small businesses. I know that directly from doing this 10 years, how rough it's been. The IFA predicts franchisees in the U.S. will borrow 27% less this year, just an incredible number. And it took this person, Don McPhee, more than a year to find and finance a franchise. 50 years old, said when he was trying to get started in 2008, he talked about 6 banks but couldn't get a loan, even though he has a credit score in the high 700s.
Wow.
The banks won't even look at me, he said. They kept saying, you have great credit, but we just don't want to take a chance on a new startup business.
Right.
After meeting with 2 franchise brokers and a lawyer, he decided to use his 401k to start a franchise called Ducks, the largest air duct cleaning franchisor in the country. We had them on the show. Starting his Ducks business located in Lino Lakes cost McPhee about $100,000. In return, he got a truck, cleaning equipment, lawyers, fees, and the Ducks name. This summer, he recruited his wife and 2 college-age sons who were his only employees. Because loans have been hard to come by, it's common for people to tap into retirement to start franchises. And it goes on here. The president of Franchoice, Lori Kaiser Block, of a franchise consulting firm, she said most people's 401ks already have taken a hit, so instead of trusting the market to come back, they want to invest in themselves and start a business. People are asking themselves, can I do better with my own knowledge and work hard, she said. Just a lot of that going on right now. This is, I'm sure the last year and a half has been such a critical time for people stuck in this guy's position, Marty, like Don. What do I do? He doesn't trust corporate America. He's been laid off and let go a few times. He's 50 years old.
Wow.
What do you do? Try to go back knowing you don't have full confidence in having long-term and a security of employment? Exactly. Or do you take a job where you're making less money and not happy? Or you have a little bit of a nest egg saved up and you go and take the plunge and decide I think the time is right to start up a business. But then do you buy an existing business, start a non-franchise business, or start up in franchising?
Right.
So those are the things you have to take a look at.
That's interesting. All important topics, Why don't we do this, Don? We'll take a break. I'm still waiting for our guest to call in, and by the time we get back, I think you should call in, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Okay, you've got my attention.
It's a rare event in the world of franchising when an opportunity comes your way that can and will thrive in almost any economic environment. It's here, and its name is Big Mouth Advertising.
Big Mouth.
BMA is a leader in the exciting world of mobile media advertising. Why is mobile media advertising able to defy the economic cycles? The answer is obvious. In times of economic weakness, advertising is crucial for survival as the consumer dollar is scarce and the competition fierce. What is mobile media? It's the newest and fastest growing segment in the advertising world. Mobile media brings the message directly to the consumer. Mobile media goes to the consumer in traffic where he eats and where he plays. It quite simply cannot be turned off or thrown out. And when you join the Big Mouth team as a franchisee, you are joining the best. The Big Mouth advantage is simple and successful. We invest in a strong infrastructure and in great people. As a franchisee, you have access to this entire system, including telemarketing, sales maximization, general and administrative support, design and creative services, even billing and collection services. All you need is a mobile media vehicle, a driver, and the willingness to create a financially sound and limitless business for yourself. There are no long-term leases to sign, no expensive build-outs, no office personnel to hire. You will be part of the Big Mouth advertising community and share its entire website and reception services, as well as its complete back-office services. This virtual office guarantees you the freedom to close those sales that will make you a success. We are so proud of our successes that we have voluntarily disclosed our revenue statements. Now, how many other franchises are doing that? Even in these historically rough financial times, Big Mouth Advertising has become a dominant force in the mobile media industry. Join the Big Mouth team and take the first step toward financial freedom. Please call Ron at 888-98-GO-BIG. That's 888-98-GO-BIG. Big Mouth! Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274. Franchise Interviews. For over 2 years now, Franchise Interviews has been giving you an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship.
Through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising.
And our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, experts, and attorneys.
And our free franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise.
And don't forget to listen to our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919.
That's 610-905-2919.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own business, you've come to the right place. Our guest hasn't called in yet, Don, so do you have another article, or what? Reason for 3 commercials, so.
Here's something, Marty, interesting. The Wall Street Journal. Restaurants look beyond chicken fingers. Restaurants trying to get more families to dine out have a new recipe. Get rid of the French toast sticks. Put more broccoli and carrots on the menu. Let the kids eat free.
Wow.
We just had broccoli last night, my family, and carrots.
There you go.
Now,
we can't get my son to eat any vegetables, so it's impossible.
Yeah, we battle that all the time. The industry is scrambling to counter a tendency by recession-pinched parents to leave their children at home when they go out to eat. Restaurant visits among groups with kids fell 5% in the year ended June 30th compared to a year earlier. Restaurants are responding with revamped kids' menus, healthier food, and kids eat free nights. Such moves are tricky to do well because restaurants must appeal to young palates while addressing parents' health concerns. This summer, P.F. Chang's China Bistro and the Cheesecake Factory, have you ever been to any of those places?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Fantastic places.
Have added their first ever kids menus. It goes on. P.F. Chang's long had offered some kids items, and that serves would suggest to parents, but not having an actual children's menu made parents feel like kids weren't welcome, said Chief Operating Officer Rick Tasman. P.F. Chang's executive sought to draw more customers, families come to the forefront. We look across our business, and they thought that was a spot that they weren't tapping into. So, we talked about just businesses in general are always going to be changing and evolving, and sometimes it takes something like a recession where the business is down a little bit to maybe relook at their whole service, or in this case menu, to see, hey, how can we maximize what we're doing,
right?
And,
absolutely.
And how to get those sales back.
Absolutely. That's interesting. We'll have to finish. Let's talk about that next week. I can see John called in. Let me just say a couple things about Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas. For over 10 years, they've provided a unique combination of theater and restaurant, showing first-run and independent films while offering in-theater food and beverage service that includes an extensive menu of freshly prepared appetizers, sandwiches, pizzas, salads, as well as a wide selection of handcrafted beers and great wines. It sounds like a great place. Hey, John, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I couldn't have said that intro better myself.
Oh, fantastic. John, joining us is my co-host, Don Johnson, and I know, Don, you wanted to say hi to John.
Yeah, John, appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely.
How's your summer been? How's business?
Business has been fantastic. We've had some great Hollywood hits and some sleepers. I think movies like The Hangover have hung in there for so long. That caught us by surprise. We've had a great summer.
That's fantastic. John, we always like to ask our guests in the beginning of the show where you're calling from this morning.
Austin, Texas, headquarters.
Okay, great. Which is your headquarters. Fantastic. That's great. And what were you doing before starting this whole thing, John, getting into Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas?
Before Alamo, goes to the month after college, 1986, I moved out to Los Angeles and started in the mailroom at Orion Pictures, making about $200 a week, and worked myself up into production and development. Worked on Dances with Wolves, Married to the Mob, Mississippi Burning, some other films, and over 11 years worked in production and development on TV and films, and moved back to Texas. And I was in broadband for internet and web development, and was going to this little one-screen theater called Alamo Drafthouse. Had just opened. I thought, why isn't this everywhere?
Right.
And here we are.
That's incredible.
And that was about 10 years ago. And what's gone on since then? Tell us a little bit about the history since they
Well, the history, the founders started the one-screen Alamo downtown with about 200 seats, offering maybe 2 pizzas, 3 beers on tap. And we, after a couple of years of running that, I had the opportunity to buy the company and project it, just shoot it out there on expansion via franchising. Right. And since then, we now have 7 locations with 2 ground-up locations in Virginia and San Antonio, number 2 for that city, opening in October, and 3 more on the slate for 2010, and we're moving as fast as we can.
Yeah, Marty and I, John, in the first segment, just thinking about this, it just seems like it's such a natural fit. A lot of times when people go to a movie, they first maybe go out to eat, kind of make a night of it. And I know I'm always a little stressed out if we're running a little late and you don't know how long the restaurant's going to take. Why not just have it all in one concept? And I think that's why, and I just wanted to ask you to describe the franchise system and why you believed it was franchisable.
Well, we're a bit of a hybrid, as you know, of having a restaurant and a theater combined. We're the only one out there franchising, let alone the only theater franchising. And we thought, why not capture this same crowd, those who are having dinner and going to the theater, have it coast to coast, hopefully international at some point. But with the expansion model of franchising, we're able to get that brand out there and how we do it quicker and saturate the markets that may be either underserved or create a new market where a theater may not have been or our concept may not have been. We believe in the franchise system because of our support, of our 12-and-a-half-year history of doing this. We've been through the ringer on going from a 1 screen to now 42 screens and counting. So we know how to do it. and we want to share that with others who can open these out throughout the U.S.
That's great. One of the questions we've been asking on the show recently, John, is has technology played a role in your business?
It has, to the extent that the studios or film, in the history of film, 120 years now, is moving now to digital. The studios are pushing the move to digital because of, one, they think it's a crisper quality, which it is. But if you're a film aficionado, you're losing that physical film, the heartbeat. But so goes it with technology, and the studios will be seeing a huge price point difference in distribution, in getting the prints to you. So where they were shipping 35 millimeter in numerous cans per film per week to each theater, they eventually, once they go past the piracy issues, which I think will be easy to overcome, they're just sending a signal to the theater. The theater's pulling it down and showing it without having much more than a hard drive. So that's a huge change for 120 years. And outside of that, I think it pretty much is a traditional business.
That's great. You're in a couple different industries too. I guess you can classify that. I mean, any numbers on these industries, John? I guess it's movie industry, restaurant industry.
Yes. Well, most closely aligned on the box office numbers, because we are showing Hollywood product.
Right.
Last year for 2008, the box office was up, and this is national box office, was up a click, about 1%.
Okay, good.
Our chain, the entire system, Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas, we were up over 8%.
Wow.
And I think true to what we saw as a downturn in the markets, cyclically, and especially during the Great Depression, unfortunately, people wanted to escape. There's huge escapism. Go out to the movies. To that, people were concerned in the 50s that everyone's putting in these great new kitchens, the latest ovens, the convection ovens, this and that. It's going to kill the restaurant business. No. Right. People are putting home theaters in their houses now, 123-inch screens in their houses. They're still going out for the communal feel of being with others, seeing a movie, and having dinner and drinks at the same time.
Seems like, John, when you first bought the company, it had a limited menu. Pizza. What's gone on since you've bought it as far as the options for people to eat?
Oh, well, with the advent of new, I should say newer ovens and new plans and larger spaces, we have gone full bore on menu testing. We're constantly testing new menu items. We now have at least 9 pizzas to choose from. Probably about 12 types of sandwiches, a number of salads, and we don't want to have anything on the menu where you're actually cutting into. You're hearing the clanking of knives and forks together.
Right.
And quite frankly, serving fish in a darkened theater isn't our idea of of an enjoyable meal, probably.
Right.
But it is all freshly prepared restaurant food. And I'd say we've added or gone from maybe 3 beers on tap back in 1997 to, at one location, we have 30 beers on tap, all craft beers, but you can choose from 120 at most of our locations. And so we've just grown into being known as a draft house choice because that's in our name. We offer a craft selection. We have higher end wines. And I guess the menu items have evolved over time to grow with the ease of operations, and because we are a high volume restaurant that shows movies secretly, we have to match that with the quality and speed.
I feel like doing this tonight.
Come on down.
True. It's like
I'll send you to any one of our locations.
You better expand to New Jersey soon and Pennsylvania.
Oh, absolutely.
So what's been the most interesting thing that's happened to you, John, since joining and starting up the business?
Since joining has been making sure that our franchise system is running at full bore properly, polishing it to where it is a screaming engine right now, making sure that we have the support and the operations behind us to roll out the DNA of Alamo to each franchisee group. And that has been, again, finely tuned, and we're very, very proud of that.
No one ever threw food at the screen or anything like that? Anything
I can't say that. We may have shown a bad movie once or twice in 12 years, but no, we haven't had that.
Or someone having one too many. I guess that can happen.
Well, I will say within the laws of the state where we operate, or states where we operate, we have not once had an issue with that. We have triple checks on IDs when you get the ticket, when you're seated, and then when the drink is delivered. So we have not, knock on wood, had that issue.
Yeah, that's smart.
So you have this, this really nice idea and franchise, and it's popular. You're doing well. You're going to start expanding around the U.S. What type of characteristics are you going to look for in a new investor or franchisee?
Ideally, and this is not across the board, but I'd say that we are looking for somebody who knows how to operate, or a group to operate multi-unit locations, who have the wherewithal to do so and have that restaurant background. Again, I'll echo that we are a high-volume restaurant behind the green curtain. To the customer, we are a movie theater that serves great food and drinks. But if we have, let's say, 1,000-seat venue at our 7 o'clock shows on a Friday or Saturday, if they're sold out, that is a finite time during a movie and just before, where you have to greet people, you have to get the drinks out, you have to get the orders for the food, you've got to get it plated and out, and then drop checks and changed and ticketed out within, let's say, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So it's a finely tuned machine that we need to feel comfortable a franchisee group knows how to operate within those parameters. And our Virginia franchisee group, for example, they are in the hospitality business as well. They are I believe, the 12th oldest currently operating McDonald's franchisee group. Wow. They have hotels in their portfolio, so they understand hospitality, multi-unit restaurant operations, and we feel very comfortable with them operating our first Alamo in Virginia.
That's interesting.
Right, so this is not like your typical type of investor or franchisee you're looking for, simply because maybe the investment size, but because of this, you're going to want someone who's had some business ownership experience, food background, food management, maybe owning a restaurant. That's really, it's probably going to be pretty important you have someone with that type of hospitality and business ownership background that you're really looking for. So maybe the process of finding that investor will possibly take a little longer, right?
Absolutely. The sales time on a franchise lead is longer. We are a high-ticket buy-in. We're not a Subway. We're not a Subway franchise. And interestingly enough, with the market downturn, which began last fall, so we're going on almost a year now, we haven't seen a huge downturn in our leads, because the entry price is still the same. And so we found that those people who are able to get into the system, or want to get into the system that we've qualified, they still are able to bring that type of capital, even though the debt markets have sunk. These are groups that aren't relying 100% on that.
Right.
And because they have multi-unit operations, either currently operating or they're in transition, in a portfolio, that thankfully they're able to pull the trigger on that.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
So we do look for people who can take down more than one Alamo per market, and we feel very comfortable that once we're working with that one group, that we can get probably a couple up in a certain market within a couple of years.
That's great. What's the training like, John, for your new franchisees?
Franchisees would establish who their top managers are and who their top kitchen people are in front of the house. They would come through one of our Austin locations, possibly our I guess McDonald's would call it Hamburger U. I guess we'd call it Alamo U. And we would do full board training for at least 45 days for many of these people, and that would be at our headquarters location, and then we go on site to their location for before and after grand opening. So we do training up there, and we leave teams at each location, at each new location, as they open them. And then in between the signing of the franchise agreement to opening, we have numerous back and forth visitations. We have the site visit, we have site selection visit. We are approving and going through the architectural plans with the group's architects. We haven't even talked about the different ways to turn something into an Alamo. We've done everything from a retrofit of an older theater into an Alamo. We've done retrofit or build out of a dark box. And as you know, there are many circuit cities out there, many other dark boxes that are vacant, and we've done those. And then there's green grass. We're just building Alamos out of that. So when the franchise group brings that to us, we have a team internally that works with their architects to find out how best to fit X number of screens with kitchen and the way we operate into a finite dark box or an older theater, or as we're doing with our 2 locations in October, those are both ground ups. And as part of that support, we have that internal team to work with them. So overall, we have the Bible, as it were, on operations, the policies, procedures, the support to take the franchise group from soup to nuts, from walking in the door, feeling comfortable with each other, moving forward to opening. And that could be a time period of, if it's a retrofit of an existing theater, it could be 4 or 5, let's say 6 months. If it's a new build from the ground up, it could be maybe a year, possibly a little bit longer. But we're with them 100% every step of the way.
That's great. Is there an ideal location, John, that you look for your franchisees?
A large metropolitan area, or and a metro area would be like I'll say a Houston, where we have 2 locations, East Coast, DC area. New York would be fantastic once we can once we can find the right. And then if it's not in a densely populated market, then as with Winchester, Virginia, that is it's not a densely populated area. However, that is a community draw of probably 30 miles.
Interesting.
So we like to be in university towns. We like to be in densely populated metro areas. And then if we are a regional draw like Winchester, then we'll be the only one in town, and that'll be unique.
That's something. What's a typical, if there is, a typical day like for a franchisee, John? I guess each day would be different, a Monday versus a Friday.
Well, Mondays you're going through the weekend, and like other restaurants or traditional restaurants, your busiest times are probably Thursday, maybe Friday through Sunday.
Right.
Not unlike the movie theater concept. The big movies come out, if not all movies come out on a Friday, unless it's a midweek holiday, and you have the huge crowds coming in Friday through Sunday. Monday it's a little bit slower, and then picks up again as you go through the week. So Monday you're reporting how you did your grosses. You're reporting directly to the studios, and we're all either on emails or phone calls with each other, just checking in, saying, hey, how did you all do, or especially at the beginning, we'd like to know how what was learned off the bat. And as the week goes on, you tend to go through your back of the house, the kitchen with the front of the house, and be prepared for the next wave, which would be Wednesday or maybe Thursday. And it's cyclical. And the good thing is, with this cyclical nature, there are histories. So you can go back and see how Labor Day did the year before. How should we staff? What films are coming up? What's the word on the street? We have a lot of materials and data on films coming up that we share with all of our franchisees to know what to expect coming up. And that's a great way to staff. And some of these locations, by the way, have anywhere from 100 to 160 employees. Probably of those, maybe I'd say 6 or 7 to about 14 managers, depending on the size of the location. We do have a 9-screen Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in San Antonio, and that's the largest of our locations. Our smallest is a 2-screen in downtown Austin. So just scaling on your management and your head count will go with that. But I'd say that the weekly Monday through Sunday, you're following a typical restaurant pattern with an overlay of a theater, which we'll educate you on.
At the movie industry, John, don't you have to charge at least a certain price for the movies? Your cinema is the same as the rest nationwide, right? There's no difference in pricing.
Well, it'll go towards it'll go with your market. So because of antitrust, we can't, and the studios or another theater can't tell you what to charge for box office. However, if just like a restaurant, you want to price within your market. So if it's $10 in Manhattan, which I know I'm way under on that, or in where you are in Jersey, it may be $12. Then we certainly don't want to be much over, and we don't want to be much under. We want to be right on.
Right.
Because with the sale of food and drink, that's the old school concession. Popcorn and Coke is where the traditional theaters make their money, and on our revenue pie, food and drink, that's the majority. That's the monster.
Right. We're speaking with John Martin, Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas franchise. What advice, John, would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur looking to buy a franchise?
Looking to buy a franchise, do your homework. Do your due diligence on the company, the history. Talk to other franchisees. And I'll repeat that. Talk to other franchisees. Find out what the good and the bad are, if there is any bad, and get as much information as possible. Are you right for a small buy-in brand, or are you right for your group right for a large buy-in? There's so many questions you need answered, and I think doing your due diligence is the first and probably the last thing you need to do.
Great advice, yeah.
Right, absolutely. We have about 2 minutes, John. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee?
I would love to say go to www.drafthouse.com, and there is a franchise link in there. Go directly to that, and we respond immediately. We have numerous materials you can find online, or we will old school mail to you. But we have such a library of information. Depending on the information requested, we will send out.
That's great. I want to thank you again, John. You've been a fantastic guest, and Don and I would love to have you back in the near future. You guys got a great concept.
Well, thank you, Marty, Don. I appreciate it, and look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you.
John.
Thanks, John. Good job.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Great concept, huh, Don?
Yeah, I think you should have said we want to have him back with free tickets and a meal.
There you go. Well, we get to use that, right? But it's I was just picturing when John said about the Manhattan concept. When you imagine it, that kind of location. I mean, it's incredible.
I think it's going to be successful. The whole family
too.
go out, watch a family movie, get some pizza, and it seems like he's really expanded the menu nicely. It'd be interesting to and stay on top of how they do the next few years.
I love it. I mean, again, I was talking, people always ask me, it's like, who's on the show this week, and I mentioned this concept, and everyone says, wow, what a great idea,
Right.
Here in Pennsylvania, I think you agree, in New Jersey it would probably work fantastic there as well, so that's great. So again, for our listeners, thanks again for listening, and go to franchiseinterviews.com, franchisefunding.net, go franchise.com, and next week we have, who is it, Don? We have Express Oil franchise opportunity.
Right, yeah, we're excited about that.
Interesting concept for the library, and I'll be talking to you again next week, Don.
Good job. Have a good day,
You too, Don. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Charming existence without thought, just to see what it might bring.